Europe is scrambling to reverse some of those mistakes. They could not stop Russia's invasion, so now they're switching to plan B. And what's that? Symbolic efforts to appease Ukraine. Today, the European Union chief announced one such effort, EU candidate status for Ukraine. That's what they've announced. Now, this is a long process with 3 major steps. Step 1, application. A country must officially submit a membership request. Ukraine did that just 2 days after the war broke out in February. Step 2, executive recommendation. European Commission officials will give their opinion. Does this country deserve candidate status or not? And finally, step 3, all leaders of the EU must sign off on the new member. If that happens, the accession process can begin, meaning the country can be made part of the EU. Right now, Ukraine is at step 2. They have been recommended for candidate status. EU chief Ursula von der Leyen says Ukraine is ready for the next stage.
In the view of the Commission, Ukraine has clearly demonstrated the country's aspiration and the country's determination to live up to European values and standards. Ukraine, before the war, had already embarked on its way towards the European Union. For 8 years now, it had already been gradually moving closer to our union.
What happens next? Step 3. EU leaders will be holding a special summit next week. They have 2 options, either ratify the recommendation or reject it. So which way will Europe go? As always, they cannot decide. The big 3 have endorsed Ukraine's EU membership. That's Germany, France and Italy. Their leaders traveled to Kiev on Thursday. All of them promised to support Ukraine's bid. The Baltic states and Poland are also on board. But 2 countries are not, the Netherlands and Denmark. These 2 countries are opposed to enlarging the European Union. So their vote will be crucial next week. Even if one country disagrees, Ukraine will not get candidate status. But let's assume they do. Let's assume that some last-minute diplomacy does the magic. Every EU member state welcomes Ukraine with open arms. Does that change anything? Will it help Ukraine win the war? The answer is no. And we can think of 2 reasons why. 1, candidate status does not mean automatic membership. It is just the start of a long process. Ukraine will still have to implement new reforms, change some of the existing laws, tweak their budget. Only after these changes will Ukraine get membership. And how long does that take? Usually 5 years. That is the average time of accession to the European Union, 5 years. And Ukraine simply does not have that sort of time. Also, can they implement these reforms in the middle of a war? That's another worry. Ukraine's government is laser focused on fighting Russia. Do they have time to address political reforms or line up financial changes? The EU chief did talk about this problem. She says what happens next is up to Ukraine.
This is on the understanding that good work has been done, but important work also remains to be done. The entire process is merits-based. So it goes by the book, and therefore progress depends entirely on Ukraine. It is Ukraine that has it in their hands.
Reason number 2, the EU is a political and economic body. It is not a military alliance. They deal with trade, legal reforms, budgets, not strategy. Recently, the EU passed a law on common phone chargers. So you get the idea. This is what they do. Joining the EU in peacetime would have been a big boost for Ukraine. You get access to the common market, the common currency, even the common development fund. But during war, it may not be of much help. EU states are already sending weapons to Ukraine. Membership will not increase or decrease that. So this whole candidate status is basically a symbolic gesture. To quote Gandhi, it is a post-dated check on a failing bank. Just think about it. If the West was serious about protecting Ukraine, why not give them NATO membership? That would actually help them, if at all. Russia will probably think twice before attacking a NATO member. But an EU member? Not quite. I'll give you an example. Both Finland and Sweden are members of the European Union. They both joined in 1995. Until this year, both countries were neutral. They never picked NATO or Russia. But the war in Ukraine has changed that position. Now, both Finland and Sweden have applied for NATO membership. What does that tell you? That EU membership alone is not enough. At least Sweden and Finland think so. and that is why they've applied to join the NATO. Unfortunately, Ukraine does not have that luxury. They were promised NATO membership in 2008. 13 years later, they're under attack. Now the West is offering them another membership, a symbolic offer with no substance really. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.